Hi everyone here and around the world, and I have got Chocolate in his new lion cut, so he doesn't look like a little badger, and he has just been like a little kitten chasing, making all kinds of fun toys to make himself run around without all of that hair. And I have some really good news. This week, we broke through 195,000 subscribers, and I thank you all so much. And if you hadn't subscribed or haven't subscribed till now, it doesn't cost you anything. So please click on the red subscribe arrow on your screen to help Earthfiles keep growing to 200,000. I really would like to hit that and break through in this new year that has started off with the gigantic underwater volcanic eruption on the island nation of Tonga in Polynesia. The explosion came at 5:15 p.m. local time on Saturday, January 15th, 2022. NASA scientists estimate the Tonga blast was equivalent to 10 megatons of TNT, or more than 500 times as powerful as the nuclear bomb dropped on Hiroshima, Japan at the end of World War II. The ash plume rose up 12 miles and created a 4-foot tsunami and shock waves that went around the whole world twice. 2 people drowned on a beach in Peru when they were caught in rushing waves even that far away. Here are before and after Maxar satellite images of the Hunga Tonga Island that was destroyed by the huge 10 megaton explosion. The single underwater fiber optic cable that connects Tonga to the rest of the world was apparently severed in the eruption, limiting communications with the Tonga Island. Repairs are expected to take weeks. God bless everyone. And last week, on my January 12th Earthfiles channel broadcast, New York City graphic designer and UFO experiencer Adam Burns talked with me about his encounters with a variety of non-human beings, including 3 to 4 foot tall small grays with big slanted black eyes, with 8 foot tall gray-green manted beings, with tall translucent humanoids, with tall grays, and with blue-green teals that have facial features sort of like the grays. Last week, on that January 12th Earthfiles broadcast, I shared, along with Adam's insights, some excerpts from an alleged CIA and DIA briefing for newly elected President Ronald Reagan at Camp David, Maryland in March of 1981. After our broadcast last week, several of you emailed asking if I could share more about that briefing. So that's what I thought I would do tonight. And the bottom line of that March 1981 presidential briefing is the implication that we humans are someone else's genetic experiment, and that Earth is like one big laboratory to mix and match genes to generate all kinds of life forms. The non-human experimenters also make many different experimental androids and robots to do work for them. And that's why humans on Earth usually see the small gray workers with big black eyes. Some experiencers describe the black eyes as high-tech lenses that see in infrared and other frequencies. Experiencers also sense that the small grays take orders from the taller beings who made them, and that the tall beings are much older and are the original genetic manipulators in charge of life experiments on many planets, not just Earth. Genetic manipulation has included already evolving primates on Earth to create Cro-Magnon Homo sapiens sapien, we humans. And at the far right in this illustration, it shows evolution to a human cyborg. Other sophisticated genetic experiments on different planets by advanced ETs could create evolving life forms with a range of attitudes from friendly to neutral to hostile, whether organic or artificial intelligence. I've always wondered what President FDR, Truman, and Eisenhower actually did learn about other intelligences interacting with Earth during World War II and afterward that led to the strict policies of denial and lies about the UFO phenomena for at least the last 80 years. And what was behind President Ronald Reagan's references in the 1980s to the possibility of, quote, some outside universal threat and an alien force already among us, close quote. Those were President Reagan's words in a speech before the United Nations General Assembly on September 21st, 1987, 6 years after he became president.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
It was only 6 years before that UN speech that President Reagan was scheduled to be in Camp David, Maryland on March 6 to 8, 1981, with intelligence advisors. The highly secret and classified goal was to brief President Reagan about 5 extraterrestrial civilizations, including one considered highly hostile that can camouflage in blonde-haired human body containers. That's what the briefing talked about and showed. Directing that meeting with insiders from the CIA, NSA, and DIA was Reagan's newly appointed CIA director, William Casey, shown here with President Reagan. A transcript of the alleged Camp David discussion first emerged in 2005 at a website called SERPO.org, all caps SERPO.org. I shared a copy of the SERPO Reagan transcript with a Washington, D.C. government source educated about alien presences on Earth and beyond. He told me he knew there definitely was such a briefing with President Reagan at Camp David about UFOs and ETs. And that Washington intel analyst confirmed for me that these 2 sketches are of extraterrestrial biological entities that our government refers to as EBENs, an acronym for extraterrestrial biological entities. They are from the Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2 binary star system, according to reports, and are supposed to be friendly to human Homo sapiens sapien. But my source also told me, quote, they also lie to us, close quote. Today, I can add the probability that types called EBE1, depicted in the charcoal on the left, may be the genetic creators of the EBE Type 2 smaller androids shown on the right that also do work on this planet Earth and beyond. That means Earth human abductees have usually been handled by the small, black-eyed, little guys, as they call them, who are biological clones that work for the EBENs. This www.serpo.org/release27A at PHP is about the Reagan briefing, and it says, quote, transcript of a classified tape recording made at Camp David, Maryland during a presidential briefing regarding the subject of, all caps, unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrial visitation of Earth. President Ronald Reagan was present. The recording was made between March 6 and 8, 1981, close quote. This 27A Reagan briefing was included in a series of 35 reports beginning in 2005 that were posted on the internet in order to, quote, facilitate the gradual release of confidential documents pertaining to a top-secret exchange program of 12 U.S. military personnel to SERPO, the name of a planet in the Zeta Reticuli system. The trip to SERPO allegedly happened between the years 1965 to 1978. The information began to be released on November 2, 2005, by a retired senior official within the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency who calls himself anonymous. According to this release, he reported it not acting individually, but as part of 6 DIA personnel working together as an alliance, 3 current and 3 former employees, close quote. Leading the Camp David discussion was CIA Director William Casey, along with CIA, DIA, and NSA advisors, and a caretaker of the ET history. It was only 2 months after Ronald Reagan first took the oath of presidential office on January 20th, 1981. So now we're in March 6 to 8, 1981, and here are some excerpts from that briefing transcript. The caretaker says to President Reagan, quote, the United States of America has been visited by extraterrestrial visitors since 1947. We have proof of that, close quote. The truth is, there was allegedly a crash retrieval 6 years before Roswell events, and that was in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, allegedly in April of 1941, and discussed in leaked Majestic 12 documents in which it is described that a, quote, neutronic propulsion device, close quote, was retrieved in Missouri from a UFO and later delivered to physicist Robert Oppenheimer when he began work at Los Alamos, New Mexico, to produce the first American atomic bomb. The caretaker. However, we also have some proof that Earth has been visited for many thousands of years by various races of extraterrestrial visitors. Mr. President, I'll just refer to those visitors as ETs. In July 1947, a remarkable event occurred in New Mexico. During a storm, 2 ET spacecraft crashed. One crashed southwest of Corona, New Mexico, and one crashed near Dadle, New Mexico. The U.S. Army eventually found both sites and recovered all of the debris and one live alien. I'll refer to this live alien as EBE-1. We also referred to it as Noah. President Reagan asked, can we classify them, connect them with anything earthly? The caretaker, no, Mr. President. They don't have any similar characteristics of a human, with the exception of their eyes, ears, and a mouth. Their internal body organs are different. Their skin is entirely different from human. We could not classify any part of the aliens with humans. They had blood and skin, although considerably different than human skin. Their eyes had 2 different eyelids, probably because their home planet was very bright, close quote. Allegedly, as I understand it, the EBENs are from a desert planet that might be called SERPO, where skies are bright or dim but never dark. The SERPO planet orbits one of the Zeta Reticuli binary suns in a solar system 39.3 light years from Earth. And the caretaker reported the distance from Earth to SERPO as about the same. He said about 40 light years. They can travel that distance in about 9 of our Earth months. I am no scientist, but as I mentioned earlier, the ETs can travel that great distance by means of space tunnels. They seem to be able to bend the distance from one point in space to another, and just how they do this must be explained scientifically. Well, today in 2022, a lot of us are being exposed to the words and the concepts of space tunneling and surfing gravity waves in something like the Alcubierre warp drive. It would use these kinds of words and concepts of space tunneling and gravity surfing to travel point to point in this universe. President Reagan, are they all friendly? Advisor number 1, Mr. President, that is a very difficult question to answer. There are many parameters that we follow to evaluate the threat. However, we have little intelligence on 4 of the 5 beings. We have plenty of intel on the EBENs. They've given us everything we asked for. They have also helped us to understand the other 4 species. I'm afraid to say, Mr. President, and please don't misunderstand my words, but we think one of the species is very hostile. CIA Director William Casey. Mr. President, we have intelligence that would indicate this one species of aliens have abducted people from Earth. They have performed scientific and medical tests on these humans. To the best of our knowledge, no humans have been killed, but as advisor number 1 stated, the intelligence is from witnesses and we have not thoroughly evaluated this intelligence. And then CIA Director Casey asked the caretaker to give President Reagan the names of 5 known alien groups. The caretaker. Okay, Mr. President, the 5 species are called EBENs, archeloids, quadloids, heptaloids, and trontoloids. These names were given to the alien species by the intelligence community, specifically by MJ5. The EBENs are friendly. The trontoloids are the dangerous ones. We call the hostile aliens simply that, HAV, meaning hostile alien visitors. MJ12 placed that code on them back in the 1950s. MJ5, that means he was a member of Majestic 12, also known as MJ12. This group was originally organized in September of 1947 by President Harry S. Truman after the July 1947 Roswell and other UFO crashes. MJ12 was a secret committee of scientists, military leaders, businessmen, and government officials under an executive order by U.S. President Harry S. Truman to monitor and analyze the interactions of non-human intelligences with Earth and to organize back engineering of advanced ET technologies retrieved from downed ET craft, just exactly like Lieutenant Colonel Philip J. Corso's book, The Day After Roswell. It is filled with the facts related to this. President Reagan, you mean these HAVs have been visiting us and kidnapping our people since the 1950s? CIA Director Casey, Mr. President, we have some indication that they might have been doing this for some time, but we can be sure that the EBENs have never done this. They are extremely peaceful and would not harm a living soul, including animals. That is not totally accurate from my point of view. There was a couple in Colorado abducted by these EBENs, as confirmed to me in Washington, D.C. by a source. These are EBENs. And I investigated this case with Richard Sigismund. The husband was a commercial artist and made these sketches under hypnosis that military sources have told me are definitely EBENs. If so, then EBENs have abducted humans too. President Reagan, my God, just knowing we have names for these things is amazing. Which one did we capture? CIA Director Casey, Mr. President, we have a trontoloid, but it is dead. We captured it in 1961 in Canada, and we had it in captivity until 1962 when it died. Advisor number 1. Mr. President, these hostile aliens are pretty sneaky. They seem to appear and disappear, which is beyond our technical understanding. They also seem to float or defy gravity. We have actual photographs of them doing this, recorded by a military intelligence unit in New Mexico. Advisor number 4. Mr. President, the trontoloid technology is probably 1,000 years more advanced than ours, maybe even more. Some of their materials are not found on this planet. Strange materials, nothing like Earth. We found several strange spots on the EBEN and trontoloid star charts. We concluded these spots were space tunnels, as the EBENs describe them, shortcuts from one point of space to another. Again, this is Alcubierre warp drive physics discussion. According to the EBENs, the trontoloids use a different form of propulsion, something like matter versus antimatter. A great deal of energy is released, but we don't have the capability, meaning we humans, to do that. Advisor number 4. Mr. President, these trontoloid aliens can imitate humans. They can look like blonde humans. However, they are not blonde. They are really ugly looking insects, but they can imitate looking like humans. President Reagan, how in the world do they do that? Advisor, they have the ability to change their bodies. As I said before, they are 1,000 years ahead of us in technology and probably every other science. But which blondes do they imitate? There are tall Nordics and shorter blondes that have been sketched by people in the abduction syndrome and are supposed to be from a variety of solar systems such as Sirius, the Pleiades, and Procyon. But the hostile insects who camouflage as blondes are said to be from the Epsilon Eridani solar system. Advisor number 4. The EBENs gave us that Epsilon Eridani information, and we know the star group. It is close to our solar system in astronomical terms, maybe 10.5 light years away. The trontoloids are actually closer to us from their point on Epsilon Eridani than the EBENs are in the Zeta Reticuli binary star system. This star map shows star systems that lie within 12.5 light years from our Earth's sun, which is the yellow circle at the center of the blue circle lines. To the lower left, only 10.47 light years from our sun, is Epsilon Eridani, shown as an orange circle to represent its cooler temperature as an orange dwarf star compared to our yellow G-spectrum sun. And here again is the list of 5 extraterrestrial species given to President Ronald Reagan in March of 1981, in which he was told the EBENs genetically created The next two on this list, EBENs are number 1, that they made number 2 and number 3, the archeloids and the quadloids, and perhaps the haploids, but no details are given about them. It's not exactly clear if the EBENs also genetically made the trontoloid insects on Epsilon eridani, or why those insects are so hostile and can camouflage themselves as blonde-haired Earth humans. The EBENs have genetically created and cloned many species, including this archeloid, which is a cloned biological entity, a CBE. And this illustration is from the 1974 book, UFOs Past, Present, and Future by Robert Emenager and Alan Sandler. They told me directly, face to face, that this drawing was made from an actual 16-millimeter film frame of the alien being and the UFO craft after it had landed between White Sands Proving Ground and Holloman Air Force Base on April 25, 1964. It was an official arranged meeting. This archeloid has a big hooked nose, yellow vertical pupils like a snake or cat in large dark eyes, a head with a raised knob on top covered by a layered headdress reminiscent of the Sumerians of Mesopotamia. There are large ears, and they seem to have some kind of technology dropping down like an earring. The left hand is holding a rod with a spiral around it that was identified then as a language translator. It interacts directly with the language center of the human brain, producing telepathic communication in any language directly inside the mind of the person interacting with the beings. The archeloid stood near the doorway of an egg-shaped craft, while two EBENs, so this is archeloid with EBENs in this meeting, while two EBENs interacted with our American military and a scientist. Allegedly, that day, in April 25, 1964, we gave the EBENs back some of their dead bodies from UFO crashes, and they gave us some more technology. Here is an ancient carved stone of the Sumerian sun god Shamash on the right, to compare to the archeloid in New Mexico on the left. The name archeloid, given by U.S. government insiders, probably relates to the ancient Greek word archon, meaning ruler or lord. Shamash and the archeloid both have ropey headdresses, commonly depicted in Sumerian clay images. Shamash is holding a rod in his right hand. The implication is that Shamash and the being sketched in the 1964 New Mexico meeting are both archeloids. Both have rods to communicate with and manage and control the Homo sapiens sapien that the archeloid and EBEN extraterrestrials allegedly created by manipulating DNA in already evolving primates to produce workers for Mesopotamia, ruled by the off-world overlord beings. But evolving primates were deliberately kept ignorant of the true bigger picture. Government insiders ran scared when they realized that the ancient Mesopotamian overlords were actually some form of archeloids that humans have worshipped as Sumerian or Anunnaki gods. How ironic that the EBENs made the archeloids, and then the EBENs and archeloids made Homo sapien, who ended up worshiping the archeloids. Other intelligences manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create various models of Homo sapien that have been subjects of an EBEN social experiment for thousands and thousands of years. That could explain why Earth has been such a haunted planet with so many mysterious phenomena, and why power structures have always ruled with secrecy. Do the archeloids and the quadloids know their own true history any more than we Homo sapiens sapien know ours? And now in the 21st century, without yet being publicly introduced to all of this other life in the universe, we ourselves are now creating other intelligences to be soldiers, truck drivers, cooks, housekeepers, and so many others coming in the future. But what we are making so far is the machine category and not yet full-blown other organic, artificially produced intelligence. But human scientists reported in 2018 they had produced the first primate clones, 2 identical macaque monkeys. They were created by somatic cell nuclear transfer, the same process that created the first clone sheep Dolly in 1996. We need to understand that genetic manipulation to make clones, androids, hybrids, and cyborgs has long been the EBEN process for distributing their civilizations, intelligences, and geopolitical control to other planets, solar systems, and even galaxies. Whatever our true physical matter source, neither the EBENs nor the others on that genetically manipulated list, neither created human souls. I think our human souls are supported by an infinite matrix of energy from which everything emerges and to which everything returns. So down with entropy and up with light. I will have a lot more to report about UFOs and other intelligences at the upcoming Conscious Life Expo held at the LAX Hilton Hotel February 4 to 7. This will be my first back in the Matter World Conference since 2019 because of COVID. I know there's a lot of Omicron and we still don't know if there's going to be other variants, but I am fully vaccinated and I wear good tight masks. So hopefully I will be able to see some of you there. I'm doing a lecture on the phenomenon of UFO intrusions at a Minuteman missile site, a 2.5-hour intensive about what I call the Hall of Mirrors with a quicksand floor. That is the complexity of the UFO UAP phenomena updated in 2022. And I am on 3 UFO panels. And you can get tickets at consciouslifeexpo.com. If any of you make it, come up. Even if we're not supposed to hug, we can sort of pretend with the elbow cross. And it would just be nice to communicate with people, even if we have to wear masks. And I want to thank dear Serena Taylor and Robert Quicksilver, who produced the Conscious Life Expo, for today sending me these beautiful flowers. I'm surrounded by flowers because they have come from, here I'm turning the wrong way on the screen. These are beautiful flowers that have come from Serena and Robert Quicksilver. And this is from my brother, and these are from my daughter and granddaughter. And there are more flowers downstairs. It was a day in which flowers, I love flowers. I can't imagine any planet or any life anywhere without flowers. I love flowers, and today I'm surrounded. And the reason for doing this influx of the flowers that have come to me is because tomorrow, January 20th, they are celebrating, it is my 80th revolution around our sun. And the only thing I really want, in addition to always being surrounded by flowers and light, is I want another 80 years around the sun, only staying age 26 and the mind of 26, but with the soul of 80, the soul of 90, the soul of 100, and that we are at some kind of a twilight. I know, I can sense it by things I read in science, where they're talking about that maybe by 2030 or 2035, they will literally be selling some kind of pill that you take, and it will guarantee you 150 years without disease. So we are right around the heels of what the beings that are so mystifying to us have been doing for thousands of years. And maybe I will be able to keep going for a long time strong, because I breathe in the sun every day and ask for strength. Let's hope. Because I sure would like to be with you here on a Wednesday night when the headlines are around this whole planet, finally, after centuries and centuries of lies and secrets. We're not alone in this universe, and that we have allies. We have allies that are as advanced, or maybe as close to advanced, as any possible hostile trontoloid insect. And how exciting it could finally be if it is all introduced to us that the universe is not some quiet, peaceful place, but that if we understood the whole picture, that there are a lot of very advanced beings who have a vested interest in their own research on Earth, their own research in us, that we have help and protection. And there is no reason why we cannot be told the whole truth at a time when on our own planet, humans are killing humans all the time for a variety of reasons, because somehow our whole planet, especially in the context of the pandemic, we feel so chopped up and chopped away, and the timeline seems weird, and we're all disconnected. And just like Ronald Reagan said at the UN, if we really knew the whole truth, and we knew that we had allies and a threat, and we needed to learn a whole lot more about the threat and why it's a threat, especially if the EBENs are the genetic manipulators of all of these varieties, and they seem to want to help us, even though many people say they lie too. Well, we lie to our animals when we take them to a vet. So I always leave the door open on what the EBENs are really trying to accomplish. But on this transition of a world that seems now to have, I guess I want to say, people with political science, military, and a variety of other scientific insights, and have had them evolving for the last 80 years, all in secret, signing NDAs that would threaten death and threaten their bank accounts would be taken. Oh, Lord, to get past that so that we can have discussions like this one on a regular basis, because we would be learning more and more and more all the time. I just can't think of anything that would be more exciting to open it up to real truth and nobody to be hurt, because we need to learn about the universe together. Now I have one more update. Just before the end of 2021, December, we made some of my documentaries available to stream online. And it's for the first time ever. You can stream my groundbreaking films, the Emmy awarded A Strange Harvest, my next film, Strange Harvest 1993, both of them about bloodless, trackless animal mutilations, linked to alien intelligences for what might be really complex reasons. There may be a reason for the mutilations that involves all of the genetic manipulations, and there may be beings that need certain chemistries from Earth in order to remain healthy. It may be extremely complex. And also, for distribution are my documentaries about the mysterious ancient site of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and my 2019 documentary, Antarctica, Alien Secrets Beneath the Ice, go to earthfiles.com/videos for these videos. That some are streaming and some are in DVD and all of these various Vimeo. Go to earthfiles.com/videos. And I've had a lot of questions from a lot of you. The printing on my 2 sold out books, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 1, Facts and Eyewitnesses, and An Alien Harvest, they're still on schedule to be ready to ship again and to be here for me to get to you the first week of March for Glimpses Volume 1 and the first week of April for An Alien Harvest. And I am sorry that the sales got out of my control to get the books turned around so we wouldn't have this gap. Didn't know it was going to be much longer because of COVID. That was the big thing, the problems with staffs and illnesses. So I did not know it would all come in one big crunch, sellouts and then a big delay. But we're in 2022. It feels like a very agitated timeline. I keep concentrating every day, I hope you do too, on the positive, the positive, the positive. And maybe this is the year at least that some headlines, some honesty will come out from our political leaders, the power brokers, and even members of Congress. That's my hope. Ian, I know this took a long time, and next week I'm going to give this back to you guys and we'll do mostly Q&A. But it just felt like that there were a lot of important things that have kind of evolved, and I hope you didn't mind my doing this way. I would like to know every once in a while I might do, it's sort of like being at a conference. This is the way I would present at a conference and do a 20-minute conference piece for you guys on various subjects. So Ian, take off.
Good evening, Linda. Thank you. You're looking fabulous this evening. Thank you. And we really appreciate that.
Joy to everybody.
You've done this evening. Okay. Before we go to the super chats and the Q&A, I have my own little special announcement to make. So on behalf of Brad, myself, and the Earthfiles team, and from all of our worldwide Earthfiles audience, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you a very happy birthday for tomorrow as you complete your latest revolution around our nearest star. So thank you. Happy birthday, Linda.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I want to keep going and going and going forever. And that's obviously what the ETs want to do too. And so we have to find this next revolution where we won't be in Drosophila fly lives that only are supposed to go around fast, 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 so somebody can use our genetics. Let's go for really long lives. The tall Nordics and the tall whites are supposed to live 500 to 800 years. And that sounds more reasonable, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, Linda, I think you've got a little thing coming up on the screen from Brad.
I don't know. I know that it's funny that it brought in these plants because I wasn't coughing or anything until we brought the plants in just before the show. And I started coughing, and I'm sorry, I apologize, but I love the flowers, but something is making me cough. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Linda, are you ready for questions?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here we go. The first one here is from Sexy Sadie. She says, Linda, what is your own opinion on the SERPO claim that some of our citizens actually travelled to SERPO and 1 or 2 may have even died?
I have heard from, I would say, easily, over the last, since 2005, and we're at 2022, I've heard from at least I can think of about seven different sources, one scientist, the other six military related, who have told me some of their own understanding or information or briefings related to the SERPO mission. And I understand the mantra that some people throw out, you can't prove any of this. We can't prove it because the policy of the United States government and other governments since World War II has been lies, policies of denial, cover-ups, making ridicule be the big insulation between civilizations and people and the truth. While insiders and political leaders and those at the frontiers of science would be involved in actually researching, investigating, and meeting periodically with ETs. But all of them have been sworn to secrecy because of so many serious threats. Death, all of your money will be taken, you will have no job, and therefore, the issue of have my sources, have other people's sources legitimately been reinforced about facts that a group, and I have read all of the SERPO material about whether it was men, some women, no women, all of that. Even that is argued. Went to the Zeta Reticuli, went into the SERPO planet. And when you read it, and you ask people who might know a reality check, the strongest I've gotten is I knew one of the people who went, and it was not fun. So there was supposed to be a lot of trauma, I think. And maybe that's another reason why it is hidden so much, is that the power brokers, however this is going to be officially introduced to the world, I think it seems to be the nature of politicians. They would like everything to be presented as a gain, as a positive, when that may not necessarily be true, but that doesn't mean that we humans on Earth, having gone through World War II and World War I and Vietnam and on, that humans can't handle being told the truth about conflict, about enemies and allies, that we're in a universe in which there is right in front of us the dramas of black holes that eat suns. We can handle it. So we ought to be given that fairness. And that is partly, I think, why I have believed the people who have told me that yes. And it ties in also to one more thing that's important. In 1988, SERPO wasn't released till 2005 November. In 1988, I've mentioned this before on the program, but right now it's like putting puzzle pieces together, and they mean more now. This is when the meteorologist from White Sands, worked at White Sands, called me because he knew that I was working then on a book that became An Alien Harvest. He knew other people who knew me and worked with me. And he wanted me to see photos, he wanted me to see documents, he wanted me to see several things that he had that were basically saying that our government has known about UFOs and ETs since World War II, White Sands, Proving Ground, Paperclip, the bringing of the Germans, the trying to get the Hitler rocketry technology in the United States, all of it going on where he was working when he came to see me in Denver and showed me some startling photographs. And he said, at the Naval Research Lab, I met a physicist who said we had a space force that had been going to Mars since 1972, and that there was a big base inside of a large lava tube, and that it was done in collaboration with apparently the EBENs, so that the Martian atmosphere could be kept out by a sealed lava tube and human chemistry air pumped in, and that there were these forces on Mars underground from 72 on. So 72 is coming 3 years after Apollo, and there is so much mystery about what happened around us. Were we met with, were we told sternly by EBENs on the moon, that we've been here, this is where we are, we don't want you back here, and then something worked out. All these are facets of a story that, yes, I think is all pointing in the right direction. And from my point of view, because I know the person in Washington who has helped me, if he says this meeting happened and it was about the 5 different groups, of which one made at least 3 more on that list, and maybe the tronoloids, I think it's the truth. And that it is skimming the surface, you guys. It is skimming the surface. There is so much more to know and to learn. Okay, Ian.
Okay, let's go through the super chats. So it's a deep breath. There's quite a few of them this evening.
And could I interject here for just a moment?
Of course.
Ian, that I know that Moonbird has been in the chat, I think, since we began, and I have so much appreciated his constant presence and support. And he left me a very poignant message that his mom, as he said, went into the mystery. I thought it was a beautiful way to put it. Went into the mystery recently, and that he had been with her for, I guess, several hours, and that she suddenly just said, "Why don't you go get some fresh air?" And he went outside for a few minutes, and when he returned, he's as if she had orchestrated. And so, Moonbird, thank you for all of your support. And I know that your mom is why you started coming to Earthfiles. And I know, and you know, and I think most of everybody who is in my Earthfiles YouTube channel, the cycles from life into another dimension, to life and consciousness into other dimensions, as Roger Penrose told me, infinite cycles. Infinite cycles. We just don't understand how it all works. So wherever your mom is right now, Moonbird, whatever dimension, I give her a hug. I give a hug to you, and may she find in her dimension now a way to let us know. Okay, Ian, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Linda, and condolences and prayers to Moonbird. He's actually the first of the super chats again this evening.
Oh.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure he'd be here tonight, so okay, thank you. Thank you, Moonbird.
Moonbird, Christina Gomez, Lane 57, Linda Emma Ferrio, Chendi Jockson, Sonia, Linda DeLembo, XAUPPOV70, Carl Balsamer, Virginia Hedge, Brenda Praysteps, Stephen Adamski, Marius MCMM, Sexy Sadie, Goldie Oviedo Baroa from the Philippines, Ethan Burnt, Martine, Whisper of Love, Zai E.T., Mark Petrie, Hesman Ritter, and Rat X172. And he actually references the 1972 reference that you said. Also, 72 was the bumper year for humanoid sightings around the planet, I believe.
Yes, it really was some kind of a transition year. And I just want to thank all of you, because I hope this means we went through 195,000 this week. And the reason for wanting to get to 200,000 and keep growing is it means that this program is meaningful to you, that this dialogue that is so valuable to me is valuable to you. And it may be that there won't be many areas on this planet for a while where people can talk this honestly. And I think it is important. I don't think there's ever been a time where it is more important to try to be talking about real truths. The planet is becoming schizophrenic. So to all of you in the super chats, in the subscribers, in the audience tonight, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. And I will give you back Q&A next week for sure. But Ian, is there another one or two questions that I might fit in here at the end?
We'll quickly go through a couple of questions. We've just passed 1,000 likes as well, Linda. So if you tell everyone to hit the likes again, that will be good as well.
Okay, that's the YouTube likes. And I guess that is another one of those important dynamics. So if you like this and you want us to keep going more and more and more and bigger, then hit that like button. Thanks, Ian.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Linda, of the species that were in the interview, which one would you identify with the reptilians, in your opinion?
It is a very good question, because I don't think it is just the trontoloid insects that do shape-shifting. One of the most important dialogues that I ever had with Jim Mars. Jim and I knew each other from going all the way back to when I was working on A Strange Harvest in 1979. And he also had investigated animal mutilations, and we had a bond over that investigation. And through the years, until his passing, I hope, Jim, wherever you are enjoy. Here, I'll do it this way. I'm living in Philadelphia at this time, and the phone rings, and it's Jim. Linda, 5 minutes. I've got a caller. I want you to hear her. This is the truth. I know it is going to seem strange, but it's real. I'm getting off the phone. She's going to call you now. And Jim did things like that. We were great collaborators. The phone rang. I got to talk firsthand to a woman who was the daughter of a politician and a corporate head in Dallas. And she said, I had a lunch meeting with my father. He had an office high in a skyscraper in Dallas, and I used to like, when I would come to his office and we'd go to lunch, I used to like to stand in front of the windows looking out into Dallas. And she said this had happened not very long before this call from Jim and talking to her. She said she had come through her father's office door, waved. It was a big office. He was like 20, 30 feet away at a desk. He waves. She walks over to where she likes to stand to look down while she's waiting for her dad. She could hear him talking. She turns and she's going to do, as she said, I was going to tap my watch. Dad, it's time for us to go have lunch. She said, Linda, it was my father's shirt and my father's slacks, but standing at the desk, it was like an alligator. And she said, I was so shocked. I felt like I was going to scream, but it's my father, or it was my father. I don't know what I'm looking at. And she said, I just waved and left. And she asked me, and Jim asked me, she hasn't been able to talk to her father. Do you think she should ask her father how he shapeshifted from her father into a standing up alligator and made her leave? Those are the kinds of detailed stories that, because I knew Jim Mars and we investigated many different things together, and I trusted him, and I know that that woman, it was very difficult for her to tell that story. What does it mean? Throughout the UFO phenomena, maybe for centuries, one of the themes are humans seeing something that is like a snake, a lizard, an alligator, something reptilian that shapeshifts. We may not be able to prove it by having it be on television or in a lab and scientists taking pictures and skin samples and all of that yet. But I really do think that the reptilians are in that same shape-shifting category as the described insect. And I've heard two different points of view from people who have served in, let's just say, investigations. Technology, that they have a technology that creates a hologram. Or if it is not technology, like something on the outside, that they have like a chameleon, that it is something holographic and chameleon-like that is part of that entity's creation. I don't know the answer to why and how the shape-shifting, but I also think in the insects, and it might happen in the reptiles, there is this whole other big category that is in my third book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2, High Strangeness. This is the big 106-page chapter where humans and ETs are preserved in tubes by light at the top and the bottom. And half a dozen abductees are exposed to, shown, told how, and this is the important quote, it is vital that the soul entity remain in this particular container matter for a very specific period of time. And that whatever we're dealing with, EBENs and others, they know how to interact with, control that process, with some beings at least. And if that's the case, then some human bodies may be preserved just like putting on a garment. That when they talk about camouflage in a human body, that it is literal. But how it all works, that's what we all need to learn. Ian?
One final question for you to squeeze this in. Moonbird has sent a question. Linda, what is your birthday wish for the humanity that's alive 100 years from now?
That every single Homo sapiens sapien, I don't care the color of the skin, I don't care the sex, I don't care the bloodline, that every single Homo sapiens sapien standing on this planet 100 years from now would look at every other human being around them in the eyes and feel the love that you feel when you look at a 2-year-old child or a brand new kitten, when you know that the pressure of love pushes on your chest because you recognize something in a life form that is you and other, but you can love it because you are it. Somehow humanity has gotten severed, has gotten chopped up. We should be able to look at each other, not in sex, but in agape love that the Greeks talked about so much. The way you feel when you look into the eyes of your 2-year-old child with rosy cheeks, if we could feel that for every single human on this planet, all of us, wouldn't that end wars? And that's what I would pray for the most. And on that note, God bless your mom, Moonbird, and you and everybody here. May we all begin to try to learn how to see our fellow human beings with agape love, no matter how bad and choppy and who knows what we have to go through in this coming decade. But if you, in your heart and your soul, know this is like a chapter, and there's so many more, and the place that I'd like to be is where you could explore everything all of the time for hundreds of years and keep reporting it back to happy, loving souls, completely happy and joyful, because they are doing exactly what their soul wanted to do or wants to do in all of the different cycles. There's something about when Roger Penrose said to me, Linda, the singularity isn't a beginning. No. It's infinity in cycles and cycles and cycles. I'll leave you on that thought. I hope I get to see some of you in LA, and that we take really good care with having masks, and that next week I'll get Ian to work, and we will go through a whole bunch of questions. Maybe we'll bring that bell in for Brad, and I'll try to do a run of questions with you and for you. And thank you. I really love you.
Turn on closed captions for YouTube videos by clicking the white CC button on the lower right. The default language for Linda's videos is English. If you would like to see the captions in another language, click on the white settings button next to the CC button. Select Subtitles CC, and then select Auto Translate. Select a language, and the captions will now appear in that language.
Sort of gone through, and they will hold their heads. I never had a cat do that before. And they'll pull against the comb, helping me get out snarls. And I think it's the best they've ever been.